Did you know when using the back scratcher, the pyro receives 75% less healing from all healers? Except the crossbow. You can just arrow him back to full HP. Hey, I spent a sleepless night looking at the wiki, and here's the best things I found from the bugs and trivia section. Did you know that on the display of the Rescue Ranger, this little wave changes based on how much metal you have? Here's what it looks like when you have full metal, and here's what it looks like when you have no metal. Did you know that when you look at Sniper's 3D model, he's only wearing one glove on his left hand, but when you're playing Sniper, you can clearly see he has gloves on both of his hands. It's common knowledge that the Sandman can no longer stun ubercharged players. However, did you know that this effect actually lingers longer than it should? If you've been ubercharged at least once in the game by the default Medigun, and haven't died yet, you can't be stunned whatsoever by the Sandman ball. The Widowmaker deals 10% increased damage to your sentry's target. However, did you know that the sentry gun doesn't actually need to have ammo in it for this effect to take place? The only factor that matters in this equation is if the sentry gun is currently looking at the person you're shooting. Did you know that to craft a soda popper, alongside reclaimed metal, you need a force of nature and a bonk atomic punch? This is strange because the soda popper is quite clearly a force of nature with a criticola attached to the bottom of it. A lot of people know that when using the Islander, you can kill another demo knight that's also using the Islander, and take the total heads that they had earned and add it to your counter. But, did you know that this also works when killing soldiers using the airstrike, and snipers using the Bizarre Bargain? This also works in reverse for the airstrike, but weirdly not the Bizarre Bargain. Speaking of the airstrike, did you know that when a pyro reflects your airstrike rocket, if it kills your own teammate, you still get a bonus to the clip size? There's not really a use for this, but I suppose you'll get rewarded if you see a pyro wearing an unusual and just want to farm your own team. Did you know that basically every shotgun and pistol in the game is using the left-handed version of the weapons? You can tell this because the ejection port that fires shells out of the gun when an ammo is expended is actually facing the player. Naturally, this wouldn't be very useful in a combat situation because you'd just be getting hit by your own bullet casings. There's no real explanation why TF2's weapons use the left-handed molds for weapons, but my only assumption is they look a little bit more detailed and so just look nicer. Did you know that the Pretty Boy's pocket pistol has an extra line of dialogue in its description that says, "When weapon is active"? This is despite the fact that none of the stats on the weapons can be used as passives, so there's no point for this text to exist. This one's more common knowledge, but still an interesting fact regardless. Did you know that teleporters built by the Eureka effect still retain their properties of being able to be upgraded with less metal, even if the user switches to a different wrench? Did you know that the speed boost you get from the overdose actually retains itself throughout an ubercharge? Meaning that what you would expect, where the ubercharge as it gets lower would slowly decrease medic's speed, actually doesn't affect the overdose until the full ubercharge is depleted. Did you know that the rocket jumper actually deals damage to the player? It's weird because it's a value of 0. Essentially, it's the default rocket damage times by 0, and that's essentially just so that knockback actually applies to the player. This only really affects you when you're using the conch, because it will reset your healing back to 0. It will also reset crit heals back to 0 for the case of the Medigun, and you can ignite yourself using the gas passer despite, again, you're dealing no damage to yourself. Strange parts have a very weird rule set. For example, the strange part, tanks killed, can be applied to the flying guillotine. This is despite the fact that the guillotine does no damage to tanks and will never kill a tank. Conversely, the part critical kills can't be put on any of Spy's knives. This is despite the fact that you get a critical hit whenever you hit a backstab. A lot of people know that Heavy's minigun is called Sasha, but did you know that every other minigun has a name too? Of course we know that the default minigun is called Sasha. Natasha, self-explanatory, is just called Natasha. The Brass Beast is called Oksana. The Tomislav is named Svetlana. And the Hulong Heater is named Sheila. Did you know that when playing the game in French, Spy notably has an English accent? Obviously this is more noticeable if you actually speak French, so this can be verified person to person, but at least the French-speaking people that I've spoken to verified to me that it does sound like he's speaking in a very unthick French accent, almost as if he's speaking in an English accent. Did you know that the Thermal Thruster actually has a Pyroland variant in the game? Here's an image of it on screen, and here's the texture file next to it. But yeah, the Thermal Thruster was also meant to change during Pyroland if you were using the Lollychop, a cosmetic, or the Rainblower. Hey, thanks for watching. If I ever have another sleepless night, then I might make another one of these. I don't know. I'm recording this very late at night because this is just what I wanted to do. I don't have anything to put at the end of this. Bye!